Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and this is called the New Glarus Village Board meeting to order. Please silence all cell phones and refrain from using them during the meeting. I look for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Excuse me. Item 3, public appearances and citizen comments on items not listed on this agenda. Items will not be debated or acted upon at this meeting, but will refer to the proper staff, the committee if action is required. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Thompson, would you like to speak?
Yes. I just want to bring you up to date on where we are with 11. Your staff folks came out and re-examined my sidewalk and lowered the bill from $9,000 to $5,300. What I'm including right here is the assessment that came out saying that this was the final answer. The problem is we didn't do Jane Elmer's. And that one is the same, virtually the same length as ours, the same condition. Her bill is $9,000 minus $5,000. I think that needs another look. But thank you for your time and looking at my sidewalk. I guess I want to reiterate that we don't need to expand the size of 11. I went out and measured 3rd Avenue. There, right? 3rd Avenue is your latest completed project. It's 32 feet wide with parking on both sides. A 6-foot lane for parking leaves roughly 20 feet for traffic. 11th, where I live, is already 28 feet. So if you do 3 on each side, you're making it wider than 3rd. Plus the fact that we have, at our request, have put in no parking signs on the south side. So what that really does is leave 26 feet. 25 minus 6 is leaves 19, 20 plus feet for driving. I sat up on my window this morning or this afternoon. 170 cars came by there in 1 hour. About 30 kids. Half of the kids are on bicycles. The kids, they just don't look. I mean, I look at them over and over again, and they just walk across the street. Of the roughly 170 cars that were there, round numbers, half of them do rolling stops. Some really don't stop at all. The other half come pretty much to a complete stop. This is a very busy intersection. There are a lot of kids on this. I don't think any of us want on our conscience that somebody got hit. So my request is that you don't expand our street. It's the same as 3rd Avenue, if not more so, once we put in that no parking. And these days with computers they use to prepare the plans and all that, this isn't a big deal to amend plans. And basically you're just going to say, leave it where it is, or save a little money on paving, bring it back, amend the contract. I've done building contracts for 30 years. I don't think I've ever had one that I haven't amended at some point because something changes. And I'd like you to do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Shelley, were you going to speak on an agenda item?
Yes, and it's really mainly just if I have questions or clarification when you get to that topic, but
Okay.
it's later on.
And Christie, you're going to speak during the.
Yeah, I only want to have the opportunity to speak if I need to.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. I know I'm well enough to know he's sincere when he says something like that.
Okay, item 4, approval of the consent agenda.
What is this consent agenda?
I have a question on 4G,
Okay,
page 28. It says 5th Avenue will be closed from Railroad Street to 3rd Street. It seems, well, the intersection at Cantor Inn and Alpine will be closed. Am I not understanding that correctly? during that event.
Annie, if you wanna answer this as well.
It's unusual to have Second Street closed at. Just want to clarify that that is correct.
The second. And then, is this for beer, bacon, and cheese, or is this for the Blues Festival?
No,
Blues, brews, and food trucks.
Blues, Brews, and Food Trucks is just Fifth Avenue from Railroad Street to Second Street.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it's, on our document, we have Third Street.
Is it the open intox that goes to Third Street?
It says the street is closed from Railroad to Third, and you're saying it should be closed from Railroad to Second.
Correct. Yes, Second Street would still and beyond and up to, and like through there should be open still.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So that's correction on page 28. Should be Second Street instead of Third Street. And then I would, and okay with approving the consent agenda.
So we want
That
to
correction,
we want to say from Second Street to Railroad Street.
correct, instead of Third. Okay. I thought that didn't sound correct.
So you make that up.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. And motion, second. Okay, all in favor, say aye, on approving the consent agenda. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, new business. Item 8, proclamation 2026 National Police Week on page 32. Okay. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15, 2026 as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the Village of New Glarus play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the Village of New Glarus. Specifically, Police Chief Jeff Servant, all of New Glarus Police Department officers and staff. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Whereas the officers of the law enforcement agency of the Village of New Glarus unceasingly provide a vital police service. Now therefore, I, Roger Trump, President of the Village of New Glarus Board of Trustees, will call upon the citizens of the Village of New Glarus and upon all patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in so doing have established for themselves an inevitable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Dated this 6th day of May, 2026. Roger Truckman was president. So Jeff is not in.
All the best. He's very gracious.
Okay. Next item is proclamation 2026 Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Okay. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between citizens, the local governing bodies, and agency of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks are pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves the sixth day of May, 2026.
Fine.
The oldest municipal office.
Truly the nucleus of local government. Okay, so that's the after the picture.
Amy?
Yep, sure.
Sherry, I'll have this on your desk.
Thank you, Sherry and Amy, you're doing a great job. We have to have both here. Okay, item C, consideration discussion, Shelley, of Golden Fleet update. Who's giving the update?
Sandy is
Hands
here.
up.
Okay, so we've had a pretty busy off-season. We'll be opening on Saturdays, the Memorial Day weekend, but in the meantime, we have taken apart all the glass cases in the basement and have been ridding them of Asian beetles and other things, so they are looking really nice. This will be our 13th season coming up. We have this year we decided to hire 2 interns to help us with staffing and to try to, again, offer those additional hours. So right now, we are also doing guide training, evenings and weekends with the high schoolers, and we did get some adult volunteers. Our hired position is still pending. Kelsey and I have been working on getting the word out and trying to get some interest going there, so that's underway as well. We did vote to raise our rates this year. When we first took over in 2012, 2013, we did raise them $1 for adults and seniors at that time, and we have done so again. So adults are $9, seniors are $8, and we left our child rate at $5. We have items in Chicago for restoration. We have 6 prints from probably the late 1700s, early 1800s down in Chicago to be restored. We have some grant money to that. We had a generous private donation for that, and we'll be using some of our own funding to push the project. Probably won't be back in time for this season. Restoration Division out of Chicago. I also found out the frame shop in Monroe does some restorations as well, so we need to be trying them as well. It'll be a lot cheaper. We will be working on some promotional videos in a couple of weeks with Steve Donovan, and hopefully you'll see those on the internet and Instagram, try to increase our social media presence. And I think that is all I had. It's been a busy off season, very busy. So we're looking forward to getting open again.
We've increased our bug spraying.
Yes, we have.
It's
Exciting. Yes,
Yeah, we have monthly spraying, we were able to work with a company that, funding wise, we're still within our budget constraints, so.
And we should change our fire alarm batteries. We have smoked a lot of batteries. Yes. But all is looking well. We're gonna upgrade our square, get a little bit different for cashiering out than what we have right now, but pretty excited. I think we'll have a good season. Hopefully gas prices come down and people want to travel, right?
Yeah.
And if anybody knows of anyone that would be
Yes.
interested in being the guide, the pay starts at $11 an hour. It's approximately 15 to 20 hours a month. Weekday availability with the occasional weekend, May through October. Obviously, Sandy and her crew will train this person, but it's a really great gig for somebody especially interested in history and we like to talk to people. So we'd love to get them in there.
That's right, yeah.
And all the job information is posted on the village website, village social media, chalet social media. So.
And we are going to start advertising on WEKB and Big Radio starting tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Perfect.
Trying to get some interest.
Perfect.
Maybe some years ago, did Jetson Brewery want to put something in there so it would be a virtual tour or
Yeah,
something?
she had some computer screens in there and that, where you would just kind of walk up and push a button. I don't know, I mean, that was sort of before my time, but the equipment was left behind at that time. You know, having these giant computer screens like that size inside of those rooms at the chalet, it's just not a nice look.
Right,
Yeah.
That
And
was,
we like, the personal touch, we really pride ourselves in that, and you get a very tailored experience, so, yeah. But that was tried.
yeah, I just kind of remember it. Yeah, and I can remember when you know, the ladies that toured there had their girdles on.
You
and
betcha.
everything. I mean, it
There's
was-
a few in the closet I can't fit in. Pretty soon we'll just have an AI human. To get in the room. But yeah, so far, you know, we've been able to keep the guys coming and, we hope that continues. Any questions for me? All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
Okay, item D, consideration discussion public consumption of alcohol and open containers during previously approved 2026 festival and event. Where are we going with this?
I can take it if you.
Okay.
So just a little background information on this. So this is a follow-up discussion, to the ordinance that was repealed at the April 15th village board meeting, but also a follow-up discussion that village staff and chamber staff and police department, staff have been having with our annual license holders and trying to make sure that we're all on the same page, figuring out a way to make sure our festivals stay as fun, as they always have been, and as successful as they are for both the chamber and our businesses and the village, but also making sure that everybody's aware of the laws and is on the same page with those. So we had discussions also with the DUR Alcohol Enforcement Division. The village has a DUR Alcohol Enforcement agent that's specifically assigned to us. Nikki Zauner is on, and I'll turn it over to her in a second. But we've also talked with the village attorney, Bill Morgan, as I stated, Chief Sturdivant, the Chamber of Commerce, our staff here, and the annual alcohol license holders. We feel that we have developed a solution, at least for right now, that will make our festivals or ensure our festivals can remain what they always have been, but also making sure that we're following laws and that everybody's on the same page. And I think that's everybody's main goal, is to have a successful festival for everybody in the state, and making sure that those rules are clear and concise. So, Nikki, at that point, I just turn it over to you and feel free to highlight any important points of conversation. And then I can kind of lead into the solution that we developed.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll take the opportunity just to introduce myself. So my name is Nikki Zotner. I'm actually a special agent with the Division of Alcohol Beverages. Are you able to hear me okay? Oh, perfect. Okay. So I'm a special agent with the Division of Alcohol Beverages. I oversee the southwestern portion of the state, that obviously includes your guys' counties as well. So yeah, we work pretty closely with municipalities, license holders, permit holders, local police departments, anyone who's really related within the alcohol beverage industry. We're happy to be a resource for. My division, I'm with the Bureau of Enforcement, so we tend to focus more on the enforcement of alcohol beverage side, but a significant portion of that is education-based and again, working with industry members. So it's a nice opportunity when I get to speak with license holders and municipalities in the same room. Let you guys know that we're out there as a resource should you guys need anything further. So before this, obviously, we've had a lot of conversations with the municipality over in New Glarus with you guys. Talk through a lot of options, talk through a lot of different laws that come into play with some of the different considerations that were being taken. It sounds like you guys have a good path moving forward and some good options in front of you. So happy to chime in as needed, or if there's any other questions, but I can certainly turn it back over to you guys. And just again, recognizing we're happy to be a resource for anybody moving forward and anything else that comes up in the future.
Sure. Thanks, Nikki. So the solution that we came up with was allowing the chamber or special event holders to edit their sales premise only to a smaller area of the festival ground, allowing the rest of the festival area to be an open impact area for the establishments that are adjacent to the festival ground. So the establishments that, for lack of a better term, and I think we need to move away from the term, but establishments that are on the open impact route, if you will, on these festivals would be able to allow their patrons, depending on their license, to exit their establishment with a container of alcohol. So the ordinance that we repealed at the last meeting was an ordinance that allowed something similar to this, but it was only for businesses on First Street between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. So it excluded a number of our other establishments. And I'm sure back when that was put in, there was obviously a reason they did it that way. I think obviously the intentions were good, but it was put into play in like 2000. So it's been a minute since it's been looked at. So village staff frankly, obviously thought it was just unfair to the other establishments that are on the festival route. But also wanted to make sure that we were clear on what could be carried out, when it could be carried out, what the municipality had to do to ensure that it was legal, that it was carried out, all of those fun topics. So what the solution we worked with Bill Morgan and Chief Sturdivant, the chamber, the license holders, and our staff is the board is able to motion to list the open intact ordinance, if you will, for festival weekends on festival grounds for previously approved 2026 special events. And then going forward on special event applications, we're going to edit those so they're a little bit clearer so that the applicant can define the sales premise and then the public consumption premise, if you will. I think there's some confusing language on our current applications that we wanna edit there. This is still all pending what license you hold, depending on what can be carried out. And Nikki, if you want to hit on that a little bit, that'd be great. But I really think that this is a solution that keeps our festivals fun and enjoyable for everybody and successful for everybody, and does not hinder, the businesses, the chamber, etc. Nikki, do you have anything to add in terms of any license stuff?
Yeah, yep. So we certainly had a lot of conversations about which different licenses, authorize different activities, basically. So like a Class B license authorizes both on-premise and off-premise consumption. The things we're talking about here are primarily focusing on that off-premise consumption. How do we sell alcohol to folks who then want to leave the establishment? So some things we kind of talked through is there's some differences and nuances there between a Class B beer license and a Class B intoxicating liquor license. There's some pretty explicit language when it comes to the intoxicating liquor side of things, where state statute's pretty clear on even needing to have like a tamper evidence seal and closed containers if you're mixing cocktails and things like that for patrons to go. When it comes to beer, there's not such explicit language, so there's room to allow for open containers specific to beer to leave, but the intoxicating liquor specifically is going to be one that needs to have that tamper evidence seal. We also took a look at Class C wine license holders because I know there's a couple in the municipality there. Class C wine licenses actually only authorize on-premise consumption. There's some consideration for like if somebody orders a bottle of wine with a meal and doesn't finish a whole bottle of wine. But overall, and by and large, Class C wine licenses simply don't authorize off-premise consumption. So that might play into some of your license holders there and considerations for this. Class A's, are those related to anything we're talking about today, or are they not involved in the territory here?
They are in the territory, so I think it'd be fine to mention it just for the record. I don't think we have anybody here that has a Class A, but it'd be good to mention for the record.
Yeah, yep. So obviously a Class A license is primarily for off-premise consumption anyway. So there's going to be like the liquor stores and convenience stores. They're primarily off-premise consumption. So should they be a part of this, that would certainly be an authorized activity for them.
And then, Nikki, can you just talk a little bit about, I know we've had discussions about this, but just the importance of preventative measures like signage. I mean, how the DOR views those, I think is helpful. And I know we've talked about it with our establishment holders, but I think it'd be helpful for the board to hear.
Yeah, yep. Obviously, we always encourage licensees to be on the up and up of what the alcohol industry regulations are, especially as license holders, right? They have a higher responsibility to understand these things, just as good business in general. So yeah, certainly we want to be encouraging our patrons and customers to also be abiding by the laws and being cooperative with these types of things. Again, I'm a proponent of folks being educated about the industry that they operate within. So there's a ton of educational material that our division puts out to the industry as a whole, as far as like Publication 309, Publication 302. It's very explicitly language that was made for license holders to make sure folks are in the know on what the laws are, what they aren't, make sure nobody gets jammed up for something silly when it comes to regulation. So we understand that business holders can only be accountable to their customers to a certain level. And at the end of the day, like customers choosing to leave an establishment intoxicated and drive their vehicles, things like that are out of their control. But obviously we want to be good stewards of the industry too. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kelsey, or if there was something more you're looking to add for there.
So that's just a little bit of background on this, but as I said, I think, by the board, agreeing to allow those previously approved 2026 license holders to redefine their premise with staff, I don't think that's something that has to come back to the board for approval. The board could give, that ability to staff to work with those license holders to redefine that premise. We have, of the ones that have been approved, we have the Euchre tournament that's coming up next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, and then we have, beer, bacon, and cheese that has been approved, and now we just approved blues, and food trucks. So then, obviously, starting with the end of the year festivals, our new special event permit, and Annie is aware of this, will be edited to clearly define this. And once again, the motion to lift the open impact ordinance would apply only to those festival grounds. So it would be across the whole village, it would be on the festival ground where the clearly marked with the no open impact within beyond this point.
So it's open carry beer of license, let's pretend this is ours. Okay, so you can carry beer out uncovered in a plastic. If you want to carry out alcohol mixed drink, it has to be in a, whatever. Yeah, like Christie's or Freestone.
Yeah, and Nikki, can you just highlight that one more time in terms of having the open impact period right outside the door? You know, for those drinks.
Yeah, yep. So I think the question was something about the tamper evidence seal and kind of closing off mixed cocktails there. So again, this is language directly from state statute as far as like a tamper evidence seal. So really it's just making sure an open container of like a mixed cocktail isn't walking out the door with a customer. Tamper evidence seal isn't explicitly defined in statute, so municipalities have the ability and industry members have the ability to kind of make that happen in a way that's practical for them. Sometimes we see like certain lids, certain types of tapes, stickers, whatever it has to be, that makes sense for abiding by that. And certainly as the municipality is considering lifting whatever open intoxicant ban they previously had in place for an ordinance, certainly a municipality can create whatever stipulations make sense to within the confines of that statute language.
Then wine is no. Is that right?
Class C wine, only on premise.
But
So Nikki, can you clarify, because frankly this is confusing for me as somebody that's done this for years, but for somebody that has a Class B license that has wine, a liquor license, can they also, wine is never allowed off premise in a container? Is that clear? Is that correct?
Are you talking about for a Class B?
Yeah.
License? So Class B, like I said, the language talks about intoxicating liquor. Wine is classified as an intoxicating liquor. So typically best practices, we see that that's also sealed containers. When I had mentioned the different licenses before, I was talking about the Class C wine license, just because, again, I know there's a couple business owners that might be applicable to. The Class C wine license doesn't have provisions for off-premise consumption. So really that's just a point of clarification to make with that one.
can I make a point on that one?
Just, is the board done discussing? Chris, go ahead.
Okay, for the Class C, my understanding is that you can sell a bottle of wine, they can drink a glass of wine out of it, you can seal it back up and they can take it out. Correct?
But yeah, that's totally fine, especially in the context of like if you're a restaurant and resealing bottles of wine. I thought the question was more for open containers there. If you're recorking a bottle of wine, that's considered sealing her back up.
They're walking out the door with, then drinking the open.
Right, I was just gonna say that then creates a potential complication, right? So they bring it into the area where the festival is occurring. And now they have, what was the sealed container that they opened? Are we responsible for that?
Part of the, yeah, so if I can speak to this, One question that we had, I posed to our village attorney, was an effort to keep glass wine bottles out of the street. So he said the board can also include in their motion that any toxins carried out into the festival ground to be consumed have to be in plastic containers. So if somebody would buy a bottle of wine, want to report, and want to go on their merry way, they could not legally open that up in the street and drink it.
But they could or could not put it in a plastic cup with a lid.
I mean, we're never gonna be able to completely
Right, I
determine.
understand that. You have to understand that. What I'm just trying to do is protect our
Yeah.
visitors
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
participants
Yeah.
and not end up with people getting ticketed. And, you know, I mean, that is gonna be a poor experience all the way around for everyone. Like, we just wanna be clear on what the rules are and what is permissible and not permissible, so that we can communicate it properly.
So can they uncork it outside and pour it into a plastic cup, or do they have to do that in the premise before they come out?
Well, wine is not allowed to come out of under Class C or plastic cup. Once again, I just want to reiterate, this is state statute. This is not, I know, this is not village stuff. This is as complicated for us as it is for everybody else involved. But per state statute, under a Class C wine license, Class C wine license is never allowed to let wine leave in an open container or, you know, has to be in a sealed container as the corked wine bottle. And as I mentioned, our village attorney suggested that in the motion, if the board chooses to do that, to put in there that it's only in plastic containers on festival grounds, so that there should never be a wine bottle being uncorked, pouring into a plastic glass on festival. Yeah, I mean, I think the motion that he suggested was a plastic glass, so I mean, we can, obviously make this as technical as you would all like.
But it does clarify that under the Class B, the non-beer, the liquor part, that you can have a glass of wine in a field.
Sam, Nikki, that's just a weird
Just a
nuance
glass of
between
wine,
Class B and
right.
Class C.
I think some of the conversation I'm unfortunately not able to hear just because of the volume. What I'm catching the gist is like, obviously the municipality doesn't want glass containers out in the festival grounds. You might have a nice opportunity to do some fun plastic cups for all of these beverages coming in. But yeah, basically intoxicating liquor, if it's coming in a glass, off premise, it should have a seal on it, right? Tamper evident seal. If it's beer, statute doesn't say, frankly, so municipality can interpret that how they want and put whatever restrictions make sense. Am I catching the gist of kind of what the concern was? Okay.
So if we have a motion to approve this, we have to add in.
So I do have, Attorney Bill Morgan could be here tonight, but he did supply some sample language that could be used for a motion if the board wants to use it. Obviously not required, but, I do have that, or, but yeah. And I can read it out loud if that would be helpful. But he obviously starting the motion, but the core of it is, suspend the enforcement of 93(1)A, which is our, open intox, as to possession or consumption of alcohol beverages upon public streets and sidewalks during any previously approved festival or event, during the approved event hours and within the designated event areas, provided that any container containing an alcoholic beverage must be made of plastic and the possessor of the container be otherwise legally entitled to consume alcoholic beverages. And then I also suggested, I spoke with Christy about including that it had to come from an establishment adjacent to that festival area.
We also need language in there to waive, your bacon and cheese pizza glasses, and those are usually.
I mean, I think that we can, this specifically talks about what can come out of an establishment. But yeah, I think that the board has the ability to make those calls. The plastic container is not a requirement. It's just something that when we talked to with our business holders, it just seems like that's something everybody wants, nobody wants a ton of glass. Correct.
So the way that's written, it can be motioned in that way without anything extra.
Unless you want to add about the
I would
glass
just
bottles of wine.
Well,
that you talked about, taking glass bottles, like, you can't.
yeah, I mean, this would cover that. I guess the only other thing that you could add is that the alcohol had to be from an establishment that is adjacent to the festival ground. So then that could negate folks from going to their vehicle, filling up a plastic glass of whatever. And once again, when you have 20,000 people crammed into a block radius, it's hard, and we understand that. But I think making it as clear as possible, so at least everybody here understands, and the public's gonna do what the public's gonna do, but we are going to do our best to follow it, so.
I have, Annie, I wanna ask you, are you gonna have, glass mugs at Oktoberfest this year? Like normal?
Yes. Yes.
Does that change anything as far as the glass and plastic issue?
That's, once again, up to the board to decide. You can certainly allow it or disallow it. I think the conversation with business holders in the chamber and village staff was that those would become a traditional part of Oktoberfest. And that's the effort to keep the majority of the people aren't walking out with glass beer bottles. Right.
And I think
Limiting
over the
glass.
years, they've only, maybe had, I think, 2 or 3 broken mugs.
Oh, I mean, they break, but the chamber cleans them up right away.
Yeah.
But, I mean, issues like violence or anything
No.
are very,
And what I will say too is I think our annual business holders are used to having plastic glasses on these weekends too. So I don't think this is a big change for anybody involved, in terms of having plastic glasses.
You gonna make a motion, Jesse?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I move that we suspend the enforcement of 93-1A, 1S, possession or consumption of alcoholic beverages upon public streets and sidewalks during any previously approved festival or event during the approved event hours and within designated event areas, provided that any container containing an alcoholic beverage must be made of plastic, is purchased from a licensed premise within or adjacent to festival grounds, and the possessor of the container be otherwise legally entitled to consume alcoholic beverages.
Please let the record show that I am abstaining from voting as a downtown business owner who is directly impacted.
So, let me just clarify, if we propose this, how does the Kendall Market, how does this impact them? Because you said the board can make a decision, so then when they apply, we can make an exception? Is that-
Yeah, so this motion that was just made only applies to previously approved because those premises have been approved. So what my next question to the board after we get through this discussion will be allowing staff to work with the license holders to redefine that premise so that everybody is on the same page. But in terms of future special events, we are gonna be editing our special event form so that it's clearly listed what is the sales premise and what is the consumption premise. And so then when those special events come to the board for approval, that will be included in the special event application. So there won't be any extra needed from the board. Yeah.
So let's say another, establishment, let's say they want to participate in the festival, but they wanna have their logo on a glass mug. Now what? And they wanna apply for.
The festival holder wants a glass mug or the bar wants a glass? Oh, this motion as we've made it right now is for plastic glasses only, or plastic cups only. And that's most likely what I assume we would be including in the special event permit, is that in this area, alcoholic beverages and plastic glasses, whatever the motion just said, is from establishments adjacent to or within the festival grounds are allowed to come out. So I think that would be clearly spelled out in there.
But you're right, Peggy, where's the salt for mulled wine during Christmas market?
Right.
And one of their ceramic glasses that, based on this, that will no longer be allowed.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally up to the board to decide. I mean, Finley obviously is a special event that's run by the chamber. So that can be something too that the hotel speaks to the chamber about if they want to have that involvement. But yeah, as it stands here.
I just, what happens if we have another participant in Kindle Market who wants to have glass mugs?
Yeah.
Then, you know,
you'll have to discuss it at that.
Yeah,
we have to-
right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
Just for that, events
Yeah.
that have been approved, so it's
Yeah.
like cleaning
So we
that
can
up.
worry about that for the next.
So each event that is,
What do you mean the events that have been approved, the people that have applied?
so the Euchre tournament, beer, bacon, and cheese,
Oh,
and,
I see.
yeah, so this motion is
oh,
only
just for
listing it for
that.
that.
Yeah.
And then future special events will use our new permit that will automatically list it on those weekends.
It's
Any
a special
discussion
circumstance.
regarding glasses can always come up at that time, especially if, the event holder, permit holder has.
Like for Oktoberfest, we'll talk
No,
about it, we good with the glass.
it seemed like there was a, the ability to cross
Yeah.
lines. and-
Yeah.
So I wanted to make.
Yeah, and once again, this is something we did talk to with our license holders, and I think, like I said, everybody's used to having plastic glasses, I think we all agree that that's the best route to go,
Right.
so. But nothing stops them from buying a sticker and throwing it on the glass if they want a logo, you know, they could, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
For the record, I have it as 6 yes, no, no, and 1 abstain.
And I have one follow-up question for the board. Is the board comfortable with village staff working with previously approved event holders to amend their premise, their sales premise and consumption premise? Yes. So I think that maybe a motion would just be good for that, just to.
Okay,
Move to allow village staff to work with licensed permit holders.
For previously approved, yeah, for previously.
Second.
okay, John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's anything?
6-0-1.
Okay, moving on. Item E, consideration special R 26-15, 2026 transportation funding support. Chelsea?
Yeah, this resolution was recommended for approval by the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and would encourage state leadership to consider a functional, reliable funding source for transportation funding that helps communities in Wisconsin with street reconstruction and maintenance. A copy of the resolution is included in the packet. So the resolution's in the packet. Once again, we're just trying to drum up support for better funding for our streets. We need it, so.
Do you need a motion
Yeah.
to approve, resolution 26-15, 2026 transportation funding support?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item F, consideration special 11th annual reconstruction proposed special assessments report, page 36.
Yeah, before I jump into this, Nikki, thank you for joining. If you need to hop off, you're more than welcome.
Oh, thanks, Kelsey. Appreciate it. Take care, you guys.
Yeah, and Annie, of course, you can stay with us as long as you'd like. Okay, I'm sorry. 11th Avenue Reconstruction Proposed Special Assessments Report. This is the report from Village Engineer Pat Current from Strand. It's included in the package. This is the proposed report. I want to clear up confusion that was mentioned earlier. This is a part of the process. We do this with every single street project. It is state statute required that this proposed preliminary special assessment report is brought to the board. The final report is not done until the work is done and we actually go out and measure what has been poured for sidewalk and curb and gutter. So this is the preliminary report. The final report most likely will not come to you until early fall, sometime around there. We are required to send that final report out to the special assessment folks that are on this list. There's a very defined process we follow with every street project. So I just want to make that very clear. I mean, I think the board is aware of that, but for public consumption, this is not the final report. This is the preliminary special assessment report.
So
Changes can be made, and yeah, we're still village staff are still spending. Scott and I think take phone calls every day about 11th Avenue, and that's great. I mean, we're here to work with our residents and make sure that their questions are answered, and we're doing what we can. So.
Roger, how can you mind, just so the board is aware also too, maybe, can change, in my experience previously, the
and every single one of them, the final amount for each special assessment came in lower than what the preliminary numbers were, so just for the board of the work.
But I also will not promise that to anybody.
Right.
But then they can change. Yeah, they can change.
So, we need a motion to accept the report.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed special assessment, the preliminary proposed special assessment.
You seconded, John? Sure. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, consideration, discussion, floral clock landscaping.
Yeah.
35.
Here we go.
So last fall, the village board discussed redoing the landscaping at the floral clock during budget season. You may remember that discussion, to help maintain the Swiss features, but also make it easier and less expensive to maintain. Village staff and village board trustee Peggy Cruz have met with staff at Brenda's Blumenladen. They currently maintain the clock landscaping for the village, and we developed a few different ideas to present to the board. I have some samples and mock-ups that Peggy and I threw together to show you, but really our goal here, and I did include in the packet what the floral clock currently looks like. And I think it's important to note that because that is what the floral clock looks like a good chunk of the year, because it is just that a floral clock. So we've been relying heavily on annual flowers that obviously have a very short lifespan. So we are looking for ways to maybe add interest for the full year to that area, keep the swiftness, but also eventually decrease some of the maintenance costs. So just a reminder, we spend $5,000 every year on maintenance of the actual flowers. That doesn't include any maintenance, a sprinkler breaks or what have you, but $5,000 on the landscaping maintenance. We also have an additional $2,000 this year to put towards this project. New Glarus Utilities and WPCI donated $2,000 last year to the chamber and earmarked it for the floral clock, and Annie has been gracious enough to work with us on that as well. So we have $7,000 this year to put towards this project. So you've all seen in the packet what the floral clock looks like now. This is an idea that Peggy came up with. I don't know, let me see if I can. Hold on, I'm gonna try to share my screen here. Here we are. Chris and Todd, can you see that?
Yeah, now, thank you.
Okay, so this is one idea that Peggy came up with, and once again, these are not like you have to approve every detail. This is just spark ideas. This idea uses full rock in the actual clock portion, and then has perennials outlining that portion. You know, the nice thing about having rock in the clock portion is it's there all year long. The color doesn't fade; it's there. Obviously, that means that there's not flowers in there, so that's a change. But this is one idea that we had, and then there's an enhanced idea that she came up with. And you are. Okay, perfect. An additional idea that we came up with, this one's a little bit more enhanced, and has some lighting features and some additional landscaping rock. So really what we're looking for from the board tonight, it's May, and this is when Brenda typically starts getting ready for planting and doing all of the fun stuff before that. So what we're looking for is approval from the board to work with Brenda to come up with a more sustainable floral clock solution that still keeps the cross in the middle and the swiftness of it, but also is just more manageable.
I like that it identifies the time.
Yeah, 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 sure.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that, and it'd be all year round, I like that.
I like that we don't have to,
Yeah.
I like that we're not throwing away.
The maintenance is
Yes,
the hard.
right.
We have some other designs too.
Yeah, we had other designs, but this, I mean, these I think kind of, if we're really looking to get more towards year-round interest, less maintenance, but keeping the swiftness, I think these are probably the best options that we have right now.
And we talked about, you know, the investment of $5,000 lasting for 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, this would be permanent.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a work in progress. We
Yeah.
won't get it all
Yeah, so our hope this year is to focus on the inner clock portion, and there's a lot of cleanup that we have to do at 4 o'clock, and just kind of getting things in order, but then focusing this year on the clock portion, and then hopefully next year, we can put those funds towards focusing on the outer circle portion and just cleaning that up. But what we'd be looking to do is keep working with Brenda and kind of let her and her staff, take the work on this, but give them the idea, which is kind of what we've always done.
Scott, does the clock mechanism work when it's below zero? I mean, the hands might not be on it all year round.
I would say take them off.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll work no matter what, but I think if you get like snow or something build up around it, I think it's not a problem.
Maybe it was my understanding, Roger, when they had that 4 o'clock repair years ago, they had to send to.
It wasn't that many years ago,
Right.
less than 5, but
And
to
it
get it
was,
all from Switzerland, and it wasn't cheap.
it wasn't cheap, and that we were told, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the last time, because parts are so rare. So once we had this fix, that fix was probably the end of the line. So that's what we're looking at in terms of, investment, and it was not a cheap investment.
And I don't think that's to say that there's no other option for
Right.
something like this. But yeah, I just think it's something that we have to keep in mind as we move through this, that we want to make sure that it's a sustainable practice. The board was very clear last fall, we want to keep the 4 o'clock. We view the 4 o'clock as a valuable asset to our village, but I think this is just an option to enhance it.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what you said, Peggy, when we restored the Region 24 house, we got all new clock mechanisms for that down there. So I mean, if that part goes bad, I think we can.
Oh, yeah,
There's
so
other
new, but if we wanted to keep it authentically Swiss, I think that's over. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the end of the line for that.
I'm all for changing it to where it requires less money in the future. Because
Yeah, I'll motion to, Brenda and Peggy and to continue to work through the 4 o'clock. Longevity.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Peggy, where did the bar put it?
Color, red.
Red this time, not white.
It's really cool. It's color, red.
I'm going through the catalog right now.
Doesn't that mean it's time for a library update?
Poor Amy.
Amy, you're up.
No barbed wire, promise.
So you've probably seen the fence put up last week, so that is complete. Landscaping is complete as well. They started doing concrete, so the concrete strip before the colored concrete goes in is now in as well, and colored concrete will go in next week, so you get to keep your colored. Interior work, the network was just set up this week. We've got a temporary network here and a temporary network there, and deliveries are starting to roll in, so, and you should all be seeing a flyer for the grand opening in your inbox.
Who's the deal with the book handover thing? Is that still something that happens?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people ask me.
Yeah, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, so it's beautiful. Yeah, it's on the flyer.
Okay.
And, yeah, so, yeah, we'll be updating all that information, yeah.
One other thing I would add, we have a street use permit that's going to be going to Public Works and Safety and to the village board at the next meeting. Just wanted to stick with the formal process, but I think for safety reasons, and just because everybody is so excited about this project, we're expecting a big crowd. We and Scott and Chief Sturtevant felt it was best just to close down that section of Fifth Avenue there by the library. So there will be a street use permit on the next village board agenda and a Public Works.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Item 7, cemetery update. You're on, Scott. You can come a little closer.
We can't see you.
Come on.
Come on up, Scott, come on up.
There's a lot of people in so I guess we had a pretty busy week at the cemetery. We did a lot of cleanup. Last Friday. We had a cleanup. We had a bunch of high school passed the ordinance for all the decorations and all that stuff. We may have had a little bit of pullback from that, but it is, you know, it's what we decided to do, so. It looks better, we need to get working on trimming, but, now, we're busy. So, we'll get to it, but, yeah. So that was good.
And, Blue thumbs up?
I don't think there was anything terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
okay.
it's just anytime, obviously, anything new, I mean, not everybody, I think, is aware of the change. What Scott's referring to is the ordinance change that was recommended by the cemetery board and put into effect by the village board back at the beginning of February. I know it was heavily covered in our news source, local news sources, and, on village sources as well. But yeah, this is our first kind of mowing season where that decoration rule has gone into effect, where there's no decorations allowed off of the monument or off of the cement base unless you have filled out a plot maintenance form and turned that into Scott. That allows families that still do want to decorate off of the base across the whole plot. They can do that as long as they agree to maintain the plot, meaning they have to mow, trim, keep it up to village standards.
The only exception we made was the service.
Yep,
the
yeah, the veterans
stars,
stars,
that was the only thing we
yeah. And then obviously, we have an annual deadline on that plot maintenance form of March 15th every year, but if there's new burials or new families, we'll obviously work with them. We're trying to be as flexible as possible, but I think also it's important to remember that we received quite a few complaints last year about the cemetery in terms of mowing and trimming, that it wasn't done enough. So this was the village's answer to increase trimming, and make it look nicer, but to be able to do that, we had to limit the decoration. Yep, so, the balancing act.
And we'd have to start, work bids start.
Yep. And one more thing I'll add about that ordinance is the cemetery board is working through signage right now. They approved signage at their last meeting, or they approved wording for the signage. The final proofs for their signage will come back at their next meeting in May. But that will be going up at the cemetery, so there'll be signs with people up.
When do our LTE start?
Owen was in for a day already, he's just gonna kind of help.
Okay.
I told him he could help a day a week in the month of May, but he didn't help last week, I think he helped the week before, he came in and did some trimming and, but one person it doesn't, it makes a dent, but we need to, the next time he comes in, I think I wanna try to send a couple people out with him and try to knock a good chunk of it off. No, that's Owen.
Oh,
Yep.
Owen. You have three, right?
Owen, Mike, and Tom.
The other thing I'd add about the cemetery is that, village staff from the library are going to be teaching volunteers how to clean headstones properly. This is something that our assistant library director and adult librarian, Erica, something that she brought to the cemetery board that they approved. The village has posted about it on our Facebook page, and I believe, it was shared around the various news sites as well. But, there is information about that on the Facebook page, and you can also contact Scott.
She's doing a class on it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that
Somebody told me one simple reading looks really good.
I think it's all supposed to be all natural kind of stuff, like it's nothing crazy that they're using.
I agree.
The gravestones have been snapped off into place in the whole section. What do we do about that?
I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah.
So fix them?
So
Somebody could
technically-
maybe try to fix them,
So
but
technically, headstones and monuments are the family's responsibility.
they're not ours.
This is something that I learned when a tornado blew through another village close to us and destroyed a church and a cemetery. The headstones themselves are the family's responsibility, and then the land is the municipality, the church, whoever owns it. So the families could choose, but obviously some of those old headstones, yeah. So we have had some, talk about, yeah.
Get a hold of it.
Yeah.
So where they made it? Where the old?
Yeah, they're like that white stone kind of.
They deteriorate quickly.
Oh, and then
Yeah, they get kind of dry, I think it dries out over time, and then the wind blowing on it, I think a lot of times.
And I think we have been approached by volunteers in the past that have been interested in potentially looking at repairing some of them. I don't know that that's gone anywhere quite yet, but there is interest there in that.
Yeah, you could, yeah, you just have, we would have to get permission from
Right.
somebody to
Right.
do it, yeah.
What we at least try to do is if something falls over, I mean, we at least try to,
Try to put it back
Yeah,
on,
or
or
put it
get
on,
it back on the
yeah.
foundation.
lots of things that we are learning.
My grandparents and great grandparents are buried up in Dalyville, and the newest part there, their headstones are, they can drive right over them. There's no upright headstone, they're all flat. So the more guys can, boom, drive right over.
And there's some of those, some people are, it's called a flush mount stone, like it's flush with the ground, so you can go right over.
But I would
do
imagine
it.
years ago,
And
like
there's
in,
some,
in the 1800s or whatever, some of those, I don't think they cleaned them up as.
yeah, that's the bad thing about them laying down is they get stuck in them, like you gotta clean them.
I would think that the grasses got tall. I mean, who didn't have riders and, you know, and electric mowers. Yeah, that's probably why some of those headstones, the names are so high, the grass probably.
Well, thank you, Scott, for the update. Anything else from the board? Hearing nothing, we are adjourned.